Also, if Howler doesn't lock in and finally show us his stand in the next chapter, I'm actually gonna geek out. Bro's been getting dogged on for far too long, and he needs to pop like King Crimson or something.
That was a clip from a video I made about Key West that I put out about a month ago. And it finally happened. Aka Howler finally used his stand! Oh my god! Oh my god! This man has sat around on his butt for the past calendar year. Aka Howler has been getting pressed by Jodio and the gang since chapter 22. And he finally used his stand. No more yap, no more preamble. Let's just get into it. The stands we've seen from the Jojolands so far have been considerably weaker than other parts. Maybe not weaker, but definitely more situational. Now, this has caused the main gang to seek out more creative applications for their abilities, but it also tells us about the thought process that's been going into the stands designs this part. Stands have always been a reflection of their users' fighting spirit, but what does that mean exactly? Stands are manifestations of their users' agency, which is a fancy way of saying they're tools to help their users achieve what they want, with their physical appearances being based on the user's individual personality and subconscious wants. For example, Jodio is simple, driven, and isolates himself from others, so he gets an ability that lets him literally shut the rest of the world out, and that fires projectiles that only impress their will onto the world by either moving through it in a straight line or by staying put until they can decimate whatever's in their way. This line of thinking even applies to the villain stands as well. Lulu is a spoiled kid that wants constant attention, but is always being ignored by the adult authority figures around her. So, she manifests an ability that, once it latches onto you and grabs your attention, makes you bend to her will and relent to whatever she wants. It's a way to keep people's attention on her and take control of situations, like a tantrum. Bag's grooves is even microscopic, referencing how small she feels being ignored by people like Howler. But speaking of Howler, how does this understanding of stands in the Jojolands help us understand what Howler's stand ability is and how it could relate to his character? Well, first we need to go over what little we already know about Howler's stand, starting with its appearance. But if you just want to hear me yap about its ability, skip to here. The easiest thing to point out about Howler's stand is its rocky, almost earth-like texture. How could this possibly relate to Howler's character? It's his land. It's obviously his land. It's always about the land. His entire character has been focused around the Howler family's land since its introduction back in chapter 16, whether that be by indulging in the wealth it brings or protecting it from Jodio's gang. Beyond its rocky texture, Howler's stand also has clothes on, which isn't something you usually see from a stand. Now, this isn't unprecedented per se. Stands have had clothes in their designs since all the way back in part 3. And when we do see stands with clothes on, they're usually nothing more than simple cloth coverings, not explicit outfits. But Howler's stand has distinct clothes on, a design aspect we haven't seen since the last main villain stand, Wonder of You. Wonder of You wore a very distinct suit and tie, meant to not only double in its disguise as the head doctor, but also to evoke a sense of condescension in its human adversaries, as if being better dressed would place the raw humans above them. Now, Howler has the same want to be perceived as powerful, but his stand's outfit is much less defined. Curiously, outside of his stand's face, its clothes have the most prominent displays of the stunning texture, which I interpret as a reference to Howler's constant extravagant displays of wealth, with his stand literally wearing the source of his wealth, his land, around itself. But I've yapped enough about how his stand looks. Now, I'll get into what a lot of y'all clicked on this video for, a dissection on his stand's ability. Howler's stand seemingly has the ability to manifest and control mist, with the full extent of its power still being a mystery. Within this mist, he's able to do something? I don't really know. We see him use this mist in tandem with the pen Jodio rolled over to him, but how or what he's doing exactly isn't super clear. It's almost like his mist is obscuring his true ability. Ooh. But after dropping the pen, it disappears, only reappearing in the neck of one of the Navy SEALs boarding his yacht, all while signing the land deeds during the ensuing commotion. This makes me, and a lot of other fans, think that Howler has some form of ability that lets him control things within his mist, with some people even theorizing that he has to explicitly drop something first in order to control it, or that his ability is some sort of gravity control, but I disagree. I think it's something similar to that, but slightly different in a key way. If his ability just affected whatever was in the mist, then he would have done way more damage to the soldiers that surrounded him, or just used his stand ability earlier while he was trying to find the lava rock while interrogating Jodio's crew. And I also don't think it requires him to drop something in order to activate it, because that just seems like such an arbitrary and silly activation requirement. I think Howler's true ability is to manipulate whatever he owns that's in his mist, which would explain why he needed to pick up Jodio's pen and take ownership of it before being able to control it. This checks with his want to be in absolute control over whatever he owns. The fact that he's even able to summon mist period is really interesting to me. When I first read chapter 32, I instantly drew a correlation between Howler's mist and the rain that Jodio's November rain can produce. There's absolutely no way that the main JoJo and the main villain both have weather-related stands, and it's just a coincidence. I already outlined my interpretation of the meaning behind Jodio's rain, so what does Howler's mist mean? Well, what does mist or fog usually linger over? Land. It all ties back to the Howler family land. It all ties back to the land. The Mets, Spider-Man, it's all about the Mets, the Mets, the Mets. Howler is like mist. He doesn't produce any value himself and kind of just exists around more important things. Howler himself, doesn't do a single thing to Jodio, Dragona, or Charming Man while they're on his boat. He makes a bunch of threats, but just like the mist itself, they're empty. Howler, the prospective main villain of the Jojolands, doesn't take any direct action against Jodio's gang, besides surrounding Dragona in his wealth, his mist, in order to suss out the lava rock. Even during the West End girl fight, he just lingers around Key West, someone that works for him, someone he owns, while she does all the work. This even connects to the second thing we see Howler do with his mist: disappear. Rich people are able to skirt around the law just by way of existing, and Howler hiding behind his mist and using it to vanish makes sense if we view his mist as a metaphor for his land and his wealth. So no, I don't think that Howler has any form of time stop or time erasure, just an advanced application of the ability I previously explained. Seeing as how he's able to attack a soldier and perfectly sign the documents in a blink of an eye, we see he's able to move the penny drops relatively fast. So if he extended his mist somewhere out of sight, I can imagine he'd be able to move there incredibly quickly, if not just teleport outright. All in all, I think Howler having some sort of mist-related powers represents his character better than the Earth manipulation theories I saw a lot of fans peddling and that his stand's initial design might have led you to believe. And for the Jojolands' first real humanoid stand design, no, I'm not counting you 200 balloons, this rocks. It's really solid, rad as hell, and just overall super intimidating. But hey, what do you think of my interpretation of Howler's ability and what his stand can do? Drop your own guesses in the comments down below, and while you're down there, make sure to like and subscribe to the video. I don't listen to any King Crimson songs, which is the musical reference that Howler gets his name from, so I'm not like the best person to guess at what his stand's name is going to be, so drop your guesses for that too down below. Overall, the Jojolands has been great, and chapter 32 is a blast to read, but I'm Flashfan 2008. I make videos about JoJo's, anime, and really just whatever I want. So watch some of these if you're interested, and I'll see you on the flip side. Flashfan 2008, out.